Ms. Langbakk, thanks for being with us. We've seen in our first report that both tougher laws and education help advance gender equality. Do you think one is more important than the other?
Laws establish the basic standards, which there the gender equality is connecting with the women's rights or human rights. And if you have the standards, then you can also monitor. You can force or enforce these things among some governments, which maybe are not so interesting for them without the laws. Education, however, is more connected to the mind, the change of mind, and it's a longer process. And of course there it is like going over to all the life and preparing for your working life, and they are really both extremely important for gender equality.
Now, what is your take on female quotas?
We don't know yet the impact, let's say, of the countries where the quotas were introduced. We cannot evaluate as yet, but what we see, of course, when we were doing analysis, for example, for Italy or Slovenia, when they introduced quotas for political decision-making, the leap was big, and the debates were big, and the quotas force people to think. And I know that in some companies, especially corporate world, the quotas, some companies say that they try to pay the fines instead of finding fitting women. They try to find excuses. But quotas force really to rethink about the situation, and it's really pushing the progress forward.
Some observers have said that gender equality is easier to advance in Scandinavian countries due to their specific culture and history.
I don't really think that the history is like the factor which created the specific situation for the Nordic countries, because they had the same challenges when women were not allowed to work, and then the voting, and then the World War, and also how the women took over also in the sense that they started working. And of course it's the women's movement which is one of the things, but you have also women's movement in other countries. The way the Nordic countries really have achieved gender equality now is kind of followed by the European Union member states. So it is really a part, you can say, replication, but in reality it sets the standard.
In your mind, what are the most pressing issues and the battles that have still to be won to advance gender equality in the European Union?
The biggest area where it is still the gender inequalities are not decreasing but increasing, it is this unequal division of private time, like the time for caring responsibilities for family and elderly. There it is really very, very huge and very gendered differences. So let's say 1/3 of men in total in the European Union do a bit of an hour or something at home, unpaid, but then the rest don't do anything. The other thing is, of course, employment. Because we have we still have the pension gap, which is a part of the result of employment and many other reasons, and also then employment creates a gender pay gap. And another area which is still really needs to be much worked on is violence against women, or gender-based violence against women.
Now, in closing, is there a divide in the European Union, north-south, east-west, or it's too simplistic to say that?
Yes, I believe it is a bit easy or simplistic to say that there is a divide on that front. Bulgaria is the best among the number of women in ICT professions. And if you think for the southern, of course, Spain is working very much on violence against women. They have extremely many different interventions. They have really many measures. Italy has leaped forward in relation to women in politics.